June stood at the large window of the space station, watching the alien ship approach. The vessel was unlike any human craft, smooth, with no sharp edges, glowing with soft blue light. It was beautiful in a way that made June feel both wonder and unease. "Professor Kim, they are ready for you," said Captain Lee from behind him. June nodded, straightening his formal uniform. As Earth's leading historian specializing in human conflicts, he had been chosen for this diplomatic mission. First contact with an alien species called the Eldara had happened 3 months ago, and now humans were invited to meet with the Galactic Council. "Remember," Captain Lee said, "you represent not just Korea, but all of Earth." "I understand," June replied. He picked up his data tablet that held thousands of years of human history, years of war, peace, struggle, and triumph. The meeting room was large and circular. 7 different alien species sat around a table, all watching as June and the small human team entered. Most had humanoid shapes, but their skin colors, sizes, and features were clearly not human. Some had extra limbs or eyes. One seemed to float above its chair. An Alderan stepped forward. She was tall with pale blue skin and large dark eyes, 4 fingers on each hand. No hair. "Welcome, humans. I am Taya, cultural expert for the Eldara and your guide to the Council," she said in perfect English, thanks to the translation devices they all wore. "We are pleased to welcome the newest spacefaring species to our galactic community." June bowed slightly. "Thank you for your welcome. We are honored to be here." The meeting began with introductions of each species. The Eldara had been exploring space for over 2,000 years. Other species had even longer histories among the stars. Humans, with only 40 years of interstellar travel, were clearly the newcomers. "As is our custom with new species," Taya explained, "we wish to exchange cultural and historical information. We have prepared our historical archives for you to study." She handed June a small crystal device. "This contains 4,000 years of Alderan history and basic information about all Council species." "Thank you," June said, accepting the gift. "We have prepared our own historical records as well." He offered his data tablet. "This contains a comprehensive overview of human history from our earliest civilizations to present day." Taya seemed pleased. "Excellent. I will study this with great interest. Perhaps tomorrow we can discuss what we've learned." The next day, June arrived at the meeting room to find a very different scene. The council members were gathered in tight groups, speaking in low voices. When they noticed him, the room fell silent. Taya approached, her face showing an emotion June couldn't quite read. "Professor Kim, we need to speak about the materials you provided." "Is something wrong?" June asked. "We are confused," Taya said carefully. "The historical documents you provided contain extensive accounts of something called war. Many such events across all periods of your history." June nodded. "Yes, human history includes many armed conflicts." A tall, thin alien with gray skin stepped forward. "These accounts describe organized violence between large groups of humans, resulting in millions of deaths, using increasingly destructive weapons, lasting for years." "Yes," June said. "The world wars of the 20th century were particularly devastating." The council members exchanged looks that June now recognized as concern. "Professor Kim," Taya said gently, "we understand the need for fictional entertainment. All species create stories, but we are interested in your actual history." June frowned. "These are our actual historical records." A ripple of what sounded like nervous laughter moved through the room. "That cannot be possible," said another council member, a short, stocky alien with orange skin. "No species could survive such violence. You describe weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds, nuclear arsenals that could end all life on your planet many times over." "The Cold War was a dangerous time," June agreed. "We came close to nuclear war several times." The council members were now looking at him with expressions that ranged from disbelief to alarm. "Perhaps there is a translation error," Taya suggested. "Or perhaps humans use different terms? When you say war, do you mean competitive games or simulations?" No, June said firmly. I mean organized armed conflict between nations or groups, with real weapons and real casualties. The room fell completely silent. Finally, Taya spoke. Again. Professor Kim, in the 4,000 years of Alderaan recorded history, we have never experienced what you describe as war. No council species has. The concept of organized violence between members of the same species is... She seemed to search for a word, difficult for us to comprehend. June stared at her in shock. You've never had war, any of you? We have had accidents, natural disasters, rare cases of individual violence, but never organized large-scale conflict, said the gray alien. It would be unthinkable. How did you build your civilizations without conflict? June asked, genuinely curious. Through cooperation and mutual benefit, Taya answered as if it were obvious. How else would one build a civilization? June didn't know how to respond. Human history was shaped by conflict. Wars had driven technological development, changed borders, toppled empires, and created new nations. I believe, said an elderly-looking council member from the far end of the table, that the humans are testing us with fictional scenarios to observe our reactions, a psychological study perhaps. Several council members nodded in agreement. No, June insisted. These are real events. We have physical evidence, ruins, weapons, documentation, first-hand accounts. Elaborate hoaxes, perhaps, suggested another alien, or misinterpreted archaeological findings. June felt frustration rising. I assure you, human history is filled with conflict. It's not something we're proud of, but we don't deny it either. The council members were now looking at him with expressions he recognized from his university days, the way colleagues looked at someone proposing an outlandish theory without evidence. This is concerning, said the head council member, a tall being with features that reminded June of an earthbird. If humans truly believe this violent fiction to be their history, it suggests significant psychological issues that must be addressed before further integration with council species. It's not fiction, June repeated firmly. Taya placed a gentle hand on his arm. Professor Kim, we mean no offense, but what you describe is simply not possible for a successful species. No species could advance to space travel while wasting resources on destroying each other. And yet we did, June said quietly. The head council member stood. This meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene tomorrow after consulting with our experts. Professor Kim, we request that you prepare evidence of these historical claims for review. As the council members filed out, Taya remained with June. They don't believe me, June said. They cannot, Taya replied. What you describe contradicts everything we understand about intelligent species development. The council believes either you are testing us with fiction or... Or what? June asked. Or humans are suffering from a collective delusion about their past, Taya said carefully. Neither option is favorable for your species' acceptance into the galactic community. June looked out at the stars through the window. For the first time, he realized that humans might be more alien to these peaceful species than anyone had imagined. Not because of our biology or technology, but because of our history. I need to contact Earth, he said finally. We'll need more than just documents to prove our history is real. As he walked away, June wondered how he could possibly explain to these peaceful aliens that humanity's violent past was not only real, but had shaped everything about human civilization, including the very qualities that had brought them to the stars. June paced in his small quarters aboard the space station. The message screen on the wall showed Mina, his colleague from Earth. Her face looked serious even across the millions of miles that separated them. They don't believe you? She asked. At all? No, June replied. They think our history is fiction, or worse, that humans are mentally ill and believe in a false past. Mina shook her head. She was one of Earth's top archaeologists, specializing in ancient battlefields and war sites. That's actually not what I expected from first contact. We need proof, Mina. Solid evidence that can't be denied. The council is meeting tomorrow to discuss whether humans are fit to join galactic society. Mina thought for a moment. I'll put together what we have. Archaeological finds, DNA evidence showing human evolution alongside warfare, medical data on how we've adapted to treat battle wounds. But June, I'll need to come there. Files won't be enough. They'll just claim the images are fake. How quickly can you get here? The transport ship leaves tomorrow. I can be there in 8 days. June nodded. I'll try to buy us time. The next day, June stood before the full Galactic Council. All 7 species were represented, and none looked pleased. Professor Kim, said the head counselor, the tall bird-like alien called Zim, we have reviewed your historical documents. Our experts remain unconvinced of their authenticity. I understand your doubts, June said. That's why I've asked Dr. Mina Park, our leading expert on archaeological evidence of human conflicts, to join us. She will bring physical evidence that cannot be disputed. I ask the council for a short delay until her arrival. The council members spoke among themselves in low voices. Taya, who sat with the Aldaran delegation, finally spoke. The council agrees to wait. We are curious about these claims and wish to be fair. But understand, Professor, if these violent accounts are indeed true, it raises serious concerns about human nature. June nodded. I appreciate your openness. 8. Days later, Mina arrived at the station. Her transport ship carried 3 large containers of artifacts and evidence. As soon as she docked, June rushed to meet her. They're still waiting, but getting impatient, he told her as they walked through the station corridors. Some council members are already suggesting humans should be quarantined in our own solar system. Mina looked tired from the long journey, but determined. Let them try. Once they see what I've brought, they'll understand. That's what I'm afraid of, June said quietly. The next day, June and Mina stood before the council. The room had been rearranged to accommodate displays of the evidence Mina had brought. Council members, June began. This is Dr. Mina Park, expert in human conflict archaeology. She has brought physical evidence of our history. Mina stepped forward. Thank you for allowing me to present this evidence. I understand our history is difficult to believe for peaceful species, but it is real, and it has shaped everything about humanity. She activated the first display. It showed a human skeleton from ancient times, with clear damage to the skull from a weapon. This is a 5,000-year-old human remains with battle wounds, Mina explained. The marks on the skull match known weapons from that period. We have thousands of similar examples from throughout human history. She moved to another display, showing images of ancient city walls and fortifications. These defensive structures exist on every continent of Earth. They were built to protect against attacks from other human groups. Some date back more than 10,000 years. Next came weapons, from simple stone tools to medieval swords to modern guns and finally images of nuclear weapons. The evolution of human weapons technology shows a clear pattern of increasing deadliness, Mina said. She kept her voice calm and factual, but June could see the council members' growing discomfort. This cannot be real, said one council member, a small being with 6 limbs. No species would develop tools specifically to kill their own kind. Humans did, Mina replied simply. And these weapons drove much of our technological development. Many technologies you use peacefully were first developed for war on Earth. She showed medical records next, ancient texts and modern hospital reports documenting injuries from conflicts. Human medicine advanced largely to treat war wounds, she explained. Our best surgical techniques were developed on battlefields. The council room had grown very quiet. Finally, Mina showed DNA evidence. Our genetic studies show how warfare shaped human evolution. Certain traits were selected for because they helped survival during conflicts. Even human psychology, our ability to form strong group bonds, our ability to follow leaders, our capacity for both violence and extreme altruism, all were shaped by our history of conflict. When she finished, the council room remained silent for a long moment. Taya was the first to speak. I have studied your evidence, Dr. Park. It appears authentic. But I must ask, how did humans survive this violence? By your own records, you created weapons that could destroy your entire planet several times over. Mina looked at June, who nodded for her to continue. We came close to destroying ourselves many times, Mina admitted. During our Cold War period, the world was divided into two major powers, each with enough nuclear weapons to end all life on Earth. They never used them against each other because both sides knew no one would survive. Mutually assured destruction, June added. An idea that kept peace through the threat of total annihilation. The council members looked horrified. You maintained peace through the threat of extinction? Asked Zim, the head counselor. This is your solution to violence? More potential violence? It wasn't ideal, June said, but it worked until we developed better solutions. International. Organizations, treaties, economic interdependence. The same principles that now allow our colonies on 3 planets to work together peacefully. Counselor Zim stood. The council must discuss this evidence in private. Humans have presented a history unlike any known species in our records. We must determine what this means for galactic security. As the council members filed out, Taya approached June and Mina. I believe you now, she said quietly. But many council members are frightened by what they've learned. Some are already calling for human quarantine. They fear your capacity for violence could threaten galactic peace. That's not fair, Mina protested. Humans haven't had a major war in over 80 years. We've learned from our mistakes. Perhaps, Taya said, but you must understand, the council species evolved without this violent drive. The very idea that a species could advance while simultaneously trying to destroy itself challenges everything we understand about intelligence and civilization. After Taya left, June turned to Mina. We've proven our history is real, he said, but I'm not sure that's a good thing. Mina nodded slowly. They look at us and see monsters. Violent creatures that somehow made it to space without self-destructing. What happens now? June wondered. We wait, Mina replied, and hope they judge us by what we are now, not just by our past. Outside the station windows, the stars continued their silent watch. Somewhere among them, the council was deciding humanity's place in the galaxy, or if humans would have any place in it at all. 3 days passed with no word from the council. June and Mina waited in their quarters, unable to do much else. The station staff treated them politely, but kept their distance. Word had spread about human history, and most aliens now viewed the humans with a mix of fear and curiosity. It's like being in a zoo, Mina complained as she paced the small common room they shared. They stare at us when they think we aren't looking. June sat at the small desk reviewing council documents Taya had provided. Can you blame them? To them we must seem like... A sharp alarm cut him off. Red lights flashed in the corridor, outside their door. What's happening? Mina asked, moving to the window. The station's calm voice spoke over the communication system. All personnel, report to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Their door slid open and Taya rushed in. Her blue skin looked paler than usual. You need to come with me, she said. The council has called an emergency session. You're both invited. What's going on? June asked as they hurried through the corridors. There's been an attack, Taya said, her voice tight with worry. At the edge of council space, the council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from all 7 species talked over each other. Displays on the walls showed damaged space stations and destroyed ships. Counselor Zim called for order and the room gradually quieted. For those just joining us, Zim said, 2 hours ago, our outposts in the Crescent sector were attacked by unknown ships. 3 monitoring stations were destroyed. The research station on Orcs 4 has gone silent. We've lost contact with 2 patrol vessels sent to investigate. Images on the screens showed strange ships, dark, angular vessels that looked nothing like the smooth, rounded ships of the council races. Do we know who they are? Asked a representative from a species that resembled tall, thin reptiles. No, Zim replied. They've ignored all communication attempts. Their technology appears more advanced than ours in some ways, particularly weapons technology. June and Mina exchanged glances. Among peaceful species, weapons development would naturally lag behind. Taya leaned close to them. This is unprecedented. The Council has never faced an aggressive species before. Never, Mina whispered back. In thousands of years of space travel, there have been misunderstandings, accidents, but never deliberate attacks, Taya explained. We don't know how to respond. A new alert sounded, and a Council technician hurried to Zim. We've decoded some of their communications, Zim announced, and received a message. The main screen activated, showing a being unlike any in the Council. It had a hard exoskeleton, 4 eyes, and mandibles instead of a mouth. When it spoke, the translation came through with a harsh mechanical quality. Attention, inferior species. We are the Voraks. Your territories are now ours. Your resources will serve our expansion. Resistance will result in harvest of your populations. Submit, or be consumed. The message ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. They're threatening to eat us? A small, furry Council member finally asked. It appears so, Zim said, his voice strained. The translation is clear. They view other species as resources, including as food. Panic broke out again. Council members shouted suggestions. We must evacuate the border worlds. Perhaps we can negotiate. We should surrender the outer territories to buy time. June watched the chaos with growing concern. These species had no concept of how to respond to a threat, no history of defense or warfare to draw upon. Zim struggled to maintain order. Please, we must remain calm and consider our options. What options? Mina whispered to June. They don't have weapons or military forces. They don't even understand the concept of defense. A loud bang silenced the room as a Council member struck the table. We have 7 species here, thousands of years of combined knowledge and no solution, the member said, anger clear in their voice. Are we simply going to let these Voraks consume our outer worlds while we talk? What would you suggest? Zim asked. We have no experience with this type of situation. The Council member looked around helplessly, then pointed at June and Mina. But they do. Every eye in the room turned to the humans. After the Council session ended, Sunwoo, the High Counselor of the Eldara, asked to meet with June and Mina privately. They gathered in a small conference room off the main chamber. I never thought I would say this, Sunwoo began, but your violent history may be valuable to us now. June nodded. Humans have thousands of years of experience dealing with threats and conflicts. Can you help us? Sunwoo asked directly. The Council is paralyzed. We have no protocols for this situation, no defensive strategies, no weapons designed to stop an aggressive force. We can try, Mina said, but we'll need more information about the Voraks, their ships, their movements. Sunwoo activated a display showing the edge of Council space. Red markers indicated Vorak sightings and attacks. This is all we know so far, he said. They appeared suddenly, attacked without warning, and have ignored all attempts at communication except for that one message. June studied the display, noting the pattern of attacks. They're testing your defenses, searching for weaknesses. It's a common military strategy from Earth history. But we have no defenses, Sunwoo said simply. That's probably why they chose to attack the Council, Mina observed. They somehow knew you were peaceful species with no military experience. June continued studying the attack pattern. They're being cautious, methodical, moving in stages, rather than launching a full invasion. That suggests they're either few in number or uncertain of your total capabilities. Can they be stopped? Sunwoo asked. Mina and June exchanged looks. Possibly, June said carefully, but it would require the Council to do something it has never done before. Organize for war. Sunwoo's expression showed his discomfort with the word. The Council species have no understanding of warfare, no experience with weapons or combat. Then you'll need more humans, Mina said firmly. Military experts, strategists, engineers who can adapt your technology for defense. The Council will resist this idea, Sunwoo warned. Many still fear humans because of your history. Some will see this threat as proof that violent species like yours, and now the Voraks, are too dangerous to exist alongside peaceful ones. They can fear us, June said quietly, or they can let us help them survive. The Voraks won't wait while the council debates philosophy. Another alarm sounded, and Sun Wu checked his communication device. The Voraks have destroyed another outpost, he said, his voice hollow. A research facility with 82 scientists aboard. June stood straighter. Contact Earth immediately. Tell them we need military advisors and engineers, and you'll need to give humans access to your technology, your ships, and complete information about Council space. This will not be easy to approve, Sun Wu said. War never is, Mina replied. But from what we're seeing, you don't have a choice. As they left the meeting, June turned to Mina. A week ago, they were deciding whether humans were too violent to join galactic society. He said, and now? Mina asked. Now they need that violence to save them, June replied, watching as more emergency alerts lit up across the station displays. The question is whether they can accept that truth in time. Outside the station, in the darkness of space, the Voraks, ships moved closer, drawn to a galaxy of peaceful species who had never learned to defend themselves. 2 weeks after the Voraks appeared, the main docking bay of the Council station bustled with activity. A large Earth ship had arrived carrying the human team that would help fight the Voraks. June and Mina waited as the airlock opened. General, Hyun stepped through first. He was tall and straight-backed, his uniform crisp despite the long journey. Behind him came 20 other humans, military officers, weapons specialists, engineers, and tactical experts. Professor Kim, Dr. Park, General Hyun said with a nod. Quite a situation you found yourselves in. Thank you for coming so quickly, General, June replied. Earth Command takes this threat seriously, Hyun said. The Voraks won't stop with the Council. If they succeed here, Earth could be next. Taya and Sun Wu approached, eyeing the uniformed humans with visible unease. Welcome to the Council station, Sun Wu said formally. I am High Counselor Sun Wu of the Aldara. This is Taya, who will assist your team. General Hyun bowed slightly. Thank you for your welcome. My team is ready to begin work immediately. The Council is still discussing the extent of human involvement, Sun Wu said carefully. Some members are uncomfortable with the concept of military action. General Hyun's expression remained neutral, but June saw his jaw tighten. While the Council discusses, the Voraks advance. We've studied the data you sent. They've taken 12 outposts and destroyed 3 minor colonies in just 2 weeks. I know, Sun Wu said, his voice low. That's why the Aldara requested your help, even before full Council approval. Please follow me to the command center. The command center was large but disorganized. Council staff moved about without clear purpose. Displays showed Voraks movements, but no one seemed to be coordinating a response. This is... General Hyun paused, searching for a diplomatic word. A mess, Mina finished for him. They don't know what they're doing. Hyun nodded and turned to his team. Set up our systems. I want tactical displays, communication channels, and simulation capabilities within 6 hours. He turned back to Sun Wu. High Counselor, I need to address the full Council immediately. This is not a debate, General Hyun told the assembled Council an hour later. His voice was firm but calm. The Voraks are following a clear invasion pattern. Based on their current speed, they will reach major Council worlds within 30 days. But surely we can negotiate, said one Council member. Offer them some resources, some territory. Hyun shook his head. The Voraks' message was clear. They view you as resources. They aren't interested in trade or sharing. They want your planets, your materials, and your people, possibly as food. What do you propose, General? Zim asked. A 3-part strategy, Hyun replied. First, evacuation of civilians from border worlds. Second, conversion of Council science vessels and transport ships into defensive units. Third, establishment of a unified command structure, a galactic defense force. Defense force, several council members echoed, the term unfamiliar to them. Yes, Hyun said. You need ships and people organized to protect your territory. You mean a military? One council member said, clearly uncomfortable. Yes, Hyun replied simply. To survive, the council needs a military. Shocked murmurs filled the room. This goes against 4,000 years of peaceful cooperation, a reptilian council member protested. The alternative is extinction, Hyun stated. The Voraks have made their intentions clear. After hours of debate, the council finally approved General Hyun's plan, though many members did so reluctantly. Over the next week, the station transformed. Human engineers worked with council technicians to modify ships. Peaceful research vessels now carried hastily designed weapons. Transport ships were fitted with armor plating. In the newly established training center, human officers taught council species basic combat tactics. The aliens struggled with the concepts. I don't understand, said Kilo, a young Aldaran. Why would we attack their command ships first? Wouldn't that make them angry? That's the point, explained Captain G, a human tactical officer. Without leadership, their forces will be confused and disorganized. But it seems cruel, Kilo said. Crueler than letting them eat your people? G asked gently. Kilo looked down. I'm trying to understand. This is all so new to us. In another part of the station, June and Mina worked with Taya, analyzing Vorax communications and attack patterns. Look at this, Mina said, pointing to a display. Their ships always move in these formations. 5 attack vessels surrounding one larger ship, always the same pattern. Hierarchical, June agreed. The center ship must contain their commanders. Like ancient Earth armies, Mina added. If we can disrupt their command structure. Taya watched them with a mix of fascination and horror. You analyze killing so calmly. June looked up at her. Not killing, defending, there's a difference. Is there? Taya asked. You're still planning to destroy their ships? To protect your people, Mina said firmly. The Voraks gave no other choice. Taya was quiet for a moment. I've been studying your Earth history more deeply. Your world. Wars, Cold War, regional conflicts, so much death, so much destruction. Yes, June acknowledged. Humanity's path has been violent, and yet, Taya continued, after each conflict you built systems to prevent the next one. The League of Nations, the United Nations, international laws of war. You didn't just fight, you learned from fighting. June nodded. Violence taught us the value of peace. Perhaps that's something the Council couldn't learn without experiencing threats. A hard lesson, Taya said softly. 3 weeks after the humans arrived, the first real test came. A Vorax fleet approached an Aldaran colony world with 50,000 inhabitants. Most had been evacuated, but 8,000 remained. The newly formed defense force moved to intercept, led by General Hyun aboard the flagship. June, Mina, and Taya watched from the command center as the battle unfolded on the displays. The Voraks still don't realize the Council ships have been modified. Hyun's voice came through the communication system. They're moving into standard attack formation, expecting no resistance. The Council ships, now armed with weapons designed by human engineers, surrounded the Vorax fleet. When the Voraks moved to attack the colony, they found themselves caught in a trap, just as General Hyun had planned. Target their command ship, Hyun ordered. Council weapons officers trained by humans hesitated only briefly before firing. The Vorax command ship exploded in a bright flash. As predicted, the remaining Vorax ships fell into disarray without central command. Now the secondary targets, Hyun directed. When it was over, the Vorax fleet had been defeated. The colony was saved. In the command center, Council staff cheered, but June noticed that many looked troubled by what they had done, even as they celebrated their victory. Taya stood silently, watching the displays. Are you all right? June asked her. We won, she said. But at what cost to who we are? We've never destroyed life before. Sometimes survival requires difficult choices, Mina told her. Later, as June walked through the station, he overheard council species talking about the battle. Some spoke with pride, others with shame. But they were all using terms they had never used before: strategy, defense, tactical advantage. The council was changing, learning the language of conflict that humans had spoken for thousands of years. June wondered if this change would save them or destroy the peaceful civilization they had built. In his quarters that night, he wrote in his journal, "Today, humanity taught the galaxy how to fight. I hope we can also teach them when to stop." 1 month after the first victory against the Voraks, the situation had grown more serious. The Voraks, angry at their defeat, had gathered a much larger fleet. Council intelligence reported over 200 Vorak ships moving toward the core worlds of the Galactic Council. In the main war room, a term that still made many council members uncomfortable, General Hyun stood before a large tactical display. Around him gathered military leaders from Earth and representatives from all 7 council species. "The Vorak's main fleet will reach this position in 3 days, Hyun said, pointing to a star system that served as the gateway to council territory. "They appear to be gathering all their forces for one massive attack." "Can we stop such a large fleet?" asked Kilo, who had become the Alderaan liaison to the human military team. "Not with direct confrontation," Hyun admitted. "They outnumber us 3-1. "Then we've failed," said a council member. "Perhaps we should begin evacuations of the core worlds." "No," June said, stepping forward. "There's another way." All eyes turned to him. "In human history," June continued, "when faced with a stronger enemy, we rarely fought them head-on. Instead, we used strategy to overcome superior numbers." "What do you suggest?" Hyun asked. June looked at Mina, who nodded encouragingly. "A trap," June said, "using what we've learned about Vorak psychology and tactics. For the next 2 days, humans and council species worked together preparing the trap. Council ships were positioned carefully throughout the gateway system. Unmanned drone ships were programmed to follow specific flight paths. Engineering teams worked around the clock, modifying communication systems. On the 3rd day, as the Vorak's fleet approached, June, Mina, and Taya joined General Hyun on the command ship. "Are you sure this will work?" Taya asked. "It seems so complex." "The best strategies often are," Mina replied. "This plan draws from several famous Earth battles: Thermopylae, Cannae, Midway, and others. Battles I've never heard of until you came," Taya said with a small smile. "Now I know them by heart." "All ships in position," reported Captain G. "The Vorak's fleet has entered the system." General Hyun nodded. "Begin Operation Trojan." The first phase of the plan began. A small group of council ships appeared to flee from the gateway, sending fake distress signals. As expected, the Voraks followed, believing they had caught the council defenders unprepared. "They're taking the bait," Hyun said, moving into the gravity well of the gas giant. The Vorak's fleet, eager for an easy victory, pursued the seemingly retreating council ships into a narrow corridor of space between a gas giant and its rings. "Phase 2, ordered Hyun. Suddenly, hidden council ships emerged from behind the planet's moons. Others rose from hiding places within the ring system. The Voraks found themselves surrounded on 3 sides, with the massive gas giant blocking. "Retreat. They're trying to regroup," G reported. "Forming defensive positions." "Now for the most important part," June said. "The Vorak's flagship." Through careful study of previous encounters, the human team had identified patterns in Vorak's ship designs. The largest ship in the center of their formation always directed their forces. "Targeted communication burst activated," Mina announced. This was the most innovative part of the plan. Human engineers had designed a system to interfere with Vorak's communications, isolating their command ship from the rest of the fleet. "Their Yao formation is breaking down," G reported. "Secondary ships are moving without coordination." Hyun nodded. "Launch the attack force." A small group of fast, heavily armed ships, a mix of human and modified council vessels, shot toward the Vorak's flagship. These ships carried the best pilots from both human and council crews. This is the dangerous part, Hyun warned. The flagship is still powerful, even isolated. Everyone watched tensely as the attack force engaged the Vorax flagship. Several council ships were hit, but they pressed forward according to plan. They're within range, Ji announced. Instead of destroying the flagship, the attack force deployed a special boarding team, something the Vorax never expected. No species had ever attempted to board a Vorax vessel before. Boarding team has breached the hull, came the report. Long minutes passed with no news. The rest of the Vorax fleet, confused without orders, fought poorly against the coordinated council forces. Finally, the communication system crackled. This is boarding team Alpha. We have control of the Vorax bridge. Repeat, we have control of the Vorax command center. A cheer went up throughout the command ship. Send the surrender demand to all Vorax vessels, Hyun ordered. Using the captured ore, flagship's communication systems, the boarding team transmitted orders for all Vorax ships to power down weapons. Confused and leaderless, most complied. Those that resisted were quickly disabled by the surrounding council ships. For the first time in known history, a Vorax fleet had been defeated. And not just defeated, captured. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council held a special session. The Grand Chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from all council worlds attended, along with the full human delegation. Councillor Zim stood at the central podium. Today marks a historic moment for the Galactic Council. The Vorax threat has been neutralized. Their leadership has agreed to peace terms. Their expansion has been halted. Applause filled the chamber. We owe this victory to our human allies, Zim continued. Not merely for their military expertise, but for something far more valuable, their perspective. Zim gestured toward June, Mina, and General Hyun. Please join me. As the humans walked to the podium, June noticed something different about the council members. They stood straighter. Their eyes held a new awareness. In just 2 months they had changed. When humans first came to us, Zim said, we were shocked by their violent history. We questioned whether such a species could fit into our peaceful community. He paused. We were wrong. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Humans taught us that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the wisdom gained from facing challenges. Their violent past gave them tools for survival that our peaceful evolution never provided. High Counselor Sunwoo stepped forward. I propose that human history become required study for all council species, not to glorify violence but to understand how conflict, when channeled properly, can forge strength, innovation, and ultimately, a deeper appreciation for peace. The proposal passed unanimously. After the ceremony, Taya found June looking out at the stars from a quiet observation deck. You seem troubled, she said. This is a time for celebration. I worry about what we've done, June admitted. We've introduced the concept of warfare to species that never knew it before. What if they use these lessons for aggression, not just defense? Taya was quiet for a moment. That fear itself, the awareness of what violence can lead to, may be humanity's greatest gift to us. You don't just know how to fight, you know why not to. She handed him a small crystal device. This contains the new educational program being sent to all council worlds. The history of human conflict, yes, but also how you built peace after each war, how you learned and grew. A complex legacy, June said. The truth often is, Taya replied. When you first came, we said human history was too violent to be real. Now we understand. It was that very violence, and your survival of it, that prepared you to save us all. As June looked out at the stars, he thought about the strange path that had brought humanity to this moment. Their violent history, once a source of shame when facing the peaceful council, had become their most valuable contribution to galactic society. Not the violence itself, but the wisdom that came from overcoming